They never saw him as a threat. Not the guests in tailored suits, not the executives walking past with eyes fixed straight ahead, not even the CEO who owned the building. Marcus Reed was just a black janitor with a mop in his hands, quiet, invisible, forgettable. The kind of man people step around, not listen to. The kind of man the world teaches you not to notice. Until one silent second changed everything. In the reflection of a marble floor, Marcus saw something no one else did. Fear frozen behind a powerful woman's calm smile, and a gun pressed into her back. No alarms, no screams. Just a choice: look away and survive, or act and risk never going home to his daughter again. His heart pounded, his hands trembled. And in that moment, the weight of racism, fear, and invisibility collided with courage. Stay with this story, because before it ends, the man everyone ignored will shatter a system, expose a terrifying truth, and prove that the most dangerous power is the one we refuse to see. By the time the afternoon light flooded the marble lobby of the Hartman Plaza Hotel, Marcus Reed already knew which corners people pretended not to see. He had learned that skill the way most black men in America learned it, quietly, painfully, over years of being looked through instead of at. Marcus pushed his cleaning cart across the polished floor, the wheels whispering against stone so spotless it reflected the chandeliers above. Guests passed him in tailored coats and expensive shoes, their conversations floating past as if he were part of the furniture. Some clutched their bags tighter when they noticed him. Others avoided eye contact altogether. A few smiled in that tight, nervous way that said, "I see you, but I don't want to." 3 years working here had taught Marcus something important. Invisibility was not weakness, it was information. Every scuff mark told a story. Every shadow in the reflection of the floor revealed movement others missed. And today, something felt wrong. He felt it before he saw it. Across the lobby, Evelyn Hartman entered through the executive doors. The CEO, owner, woman whose name was etched into the very bones of the building. She walked with her usual calm authority, shoulders straight, expression controlled. To the outside world, she looked exactly as she always did, confident, untouchable. But Marcus noticed the details no one else did. The stiffness in her spine, the way her breath was too shallow, the man walking beside her, too close, too deliberate, his hand hovering at her back like a lover's, yet holding her in place. And then Marcus saw it. The reflection in the marble floor showed something the guests couldn't see from above. Beneath the man's expensive suit jacket, pressed hard against Evelyn Hartman's lower back, was the unmistakable outline of a gun. Marcus's hand tightened on the mop handle. This was the moment that split a life into before and after. Evelyn Hartman did not scream. She did not run. She did not reach for her phone. She knew better. The man beside her, Victor Kane, had made the rules clear in the parking garage less than 10 minutes earlier. Smile, walk, cooperate, or people would die. As they moved through the lobby, Evelyn scanned the space the way a drowning person searched for air. Security was positioned too far away. Guests were everywhere. Any sudden movement would end in blood. Then she saw Marcus, the janitor. The black man who arrived early every morning. The one who always practiced sign language alone in the break room, his hands moving with quiet devotion. She remembered him because 3 years ago, during a charity program for children with disabilities, she had watched parents like him learn a language the world refused to slow down for. Evelyn had learned some of it too. Not enough to teach, not enough to claim fluency, but enough to survive. As they passed the concierge desk, Evelyn let her hand fall casually to her side. Her fingers moved fast, precise, controlled, hidden in plain sight. "Help me. He has a weapon." Marcus's mop froze mid-stroke. Water pooled at his feet. He did not look up. Years of being underestimated had taught him that the fastest way to get killed was to look like you knew something dangerous. But his heart slammed against his ribs as if it were trying to escape. He understood her perfectly. Marcus Reed had learned sign language because his daughter Nia was deaf, 7 years old, bright-eyed, curious, the kind of child who laughed with her whole body. When doctors told him she would never hear his voice, Marcus had promised her something silently, fiercely. "I will always understand you. He had not expected that promise to be tested in the middle of a five-star hotel. Evelyn's final sign was clear. Do not look up. Marcus forced himself to breathe, slowly, calmly, the way he had been trained to do years ago, back when his life had gone in a different direction, before cancer took his wife, before the world taught him how disposable a black man with a uniform could be. He resumed mopping. Anyone watching would see nothing more than a janitor doing his job, but Marcus had 90 seconds to decide who he was going to be. If he ran for help, Victor Kane would panic. If he shouted, the gun would come out. If he did nothing, he would carry that silence forever. Marcus thought of Nia waiting for him after school at Bright Path Learning Center, 3 blocks away. He thought of her small hand signing Daddy. You're late with exaggerated seriousness. He thought of the promise he made to her mother before she died. Come home alive. And then he thought of something else. He thought of how many times he had been ignored, how many times his instincts had been dismissed, how many times people like Victor Kane assumed the black man with a mop was harmless. That assumption was about to save a life. Marcus set the mop aside and picked up the yellow wet floor sign. He placed it carefully in the path ahead of Evelyn and Victor. Victor noticed immediately. His jaw tightened. This hotel prides itself on efficiency, he muttered, tightening his grip on Evelyn's arm. Maintenance happens, Evelyn replied evenly, her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her chest. We can take the other route. They adjusted course. 30 seconds bought. Enough. Marcus moved fast, but not rushed. He slipped into a supply closet, grabbed the wall phone, and dialed security. When Laura Mitchell, head of hotel security, answered, Marcus spoke quietly, his voice calm in a way that came from deep practice. This is Marcus Reed, day shift maintenance, he said. The CEO is being forced to sign documents at gunpoint. Silent response only. There was a pause. Are you certain? Laura asked. She signed to me, Marcus said. Sign language. Another pause, shorter this time. Stay on the line. As Marcus hung up, adrenaline burned through him, but his hands were steady. Invisibility had prepared him for this. Being overlooked meant he could move freely, unnoticed, underestimated. Victor Kane thought he controlled the situation. He had no idea the man he hadn't even looked at was dismantling his plan piece by piece. As Evelyn and Victor disappeared into the executive wing, Marcus returned to his cart, pushing it forward with deliberate calm. He could feel eyes sliding past him again. Guests, staff, executives, none of them aware that the balance of power had already shifted, because this time the invisible man was watching, and he was not looking away. Let me ask you something. What would you have done if you were Marcus? Risk everything to help or stay invisible to survive? And one last question, if the person who saves your life is someone you've never acknowledged before, does that change how you see power? Yes or no? Your answer might say more than you think. The executive wing of the Hartman Plaza Hotel was designed to make people feel powerful. Thick carpet muted footsteps. The lighting was soft but intentional, meant to calm investors and intimidate anyone who didn't belong. Framed photographs of ribbon cuttings and luxury openings lined the walls. Smiling faces, champagne flutes, white teeth and tailored suits. Marcus Reed had cleaned this hallway hundreds of times, and every time he felt it. The quiet shift in the air when he stepped into this space, the way conversations lowered, the way eyes slid past him faster here than anywhere else in the building. This was not a place built for men like him, which was exactly why Victor Kane felt safe here. Victor guided Evelyn Hartman forward, his hands still pressing her along as if she were an object being delivered. To anyone watching the cameras, it looked like a tense business meeting, nothing more. No struggle, no panic, just another powerful woman walking beside a confident man. That illusion was Victor's greatest weapon. Evelyn felt the weight of it pressing down on her harder than the gun at her back. She had spent her entire career believing she was in control. She built systems, layers of security, protocols for every possible crisis. She believed danger was something you could anticipate if you were smart enough. She had been wrong. The danger came wrapped in a tailored suit and a calm voice. It came from a man who knew exactly how to exploit appearances, and how little attention people paid to the people who cleaned their messes. They reached the elevator bank. Victor pressed the button. Nothing happened. He frowned and pressed it again. A small light blinked. Maintenance mode. Evelyn's heart jumped, but she kept her face neutral. The system glitches sometimes. Victor studied her carefully, suspicion flickering across his eyes. He didn't like delays. Delays meant loss of control. "We'll take the service stairs," he said sharply. Behind them, Marcus watched through the reflection of a decorative mirror, his body angled so it looked like he was checking a smudge on the wall. His hands moved subtly, small signals, nothing obvious. His radio vibrated once against his belt. Security was in position. Good. Victor pushed open the stairwell door, and the world shifted from polished luxury to cold concrete. The echo of footsteps bounced off gray walls as they climbed. The smell of cleaning chemicals hung faintly in the air. "This could have been simple," Victor said as they ascended. "A signature, a quiet exit. You keep your reputation." "And if I refuse?" Evelyn asked. Victor smiled, the kind of smile that never reached the eyes. "Then you become a cautionary tale." They reached the top floor and moved toward a glass-walled conference room overlooking the city. The table inside was already prepared. A leather folder lay open, papers neatly arranged, a pen placed with care. Victor had planned this thoroughly. What he hadn't planned for was a janitor who refused to remain invisible. Marcus wheeled his cart down the hallway at a steady pace, every movement deliberate. He positioned it slightly off-center, creating a subtle obstruction. Then he knelt by an electrical panel and removed the cover, as if inspecting a loose wire. To the cameras, it looked routine. To Laura Mitchell, watching from the security office, it was a signal. Marcus was ready. Inside the conference room, Victor closed the door and gestured toward the chair. "Sit." Evelyn did, slowly. The glass walls made the room feel exposed, but Victor stood with his back to the door, blocking any exit. His hand never left the inside of his jacket. "Read if you like," he said. "The outcome won't change." Evelyn turned the pages with shaking hands, pretending to study the clauses while her mind raced. She needed time. Every second mattered. In the hallway, Marcus heard his radio crackle softly. "Officers are staged at both ends," Laura's voice murmured. "We need a distraction, loud enough to draw attention, not violent." Marcus's jaw tightened. This was the moment. He thought of all the times people had crossed the street when they saw him coming, all the times his presence alone made others uncomfortable. He thought of how quickly security would have tackled him if he raised his voice, how differently this situation would be handled if he were the one inside that room with a weapon. Racial assumptions weren't just social, they were tactical, and Marcus was about to use them. He stood and lifted a metal tray from his cart. Then he dropped it. The crash echoed down the hallway, sharp and jarring. Tools clattered across the floor. "Damn it," Marcus muttered loudly, bending to gather them up, his voice carrying just enough to sound annoyed, not threatening. Victor's head snapped toward the noise. "What was that?" he demanded. "Maintenance," Evelyn said quickly. "This happens all the time." Victor hesitated. That hesitation cost him everything. The conference room door burst open. Laura Mitchell and two officers moved in fast, weapons drawn but steady, voices commanding. "Drop the weapon!" Victor spun, his hand coming out of his jacket. Evelyn didn't think. She moved. She slid beneath the table, heart pounding, just as the lights cut out. Darkness. 3 seconds. That was all it took. The officers surged forward with precision. Victor fired once, the shot deafening in the enclosed space, but it went wide. He was tackled hard, the impact rattling the glass walls. The gun skidded across the floor. When the lights came back on, Victor Kane was face down, cuffed, shouting threats that no one listened to. In the hallway, Marcus exhaled for the first time in what felt like an hour. His knees trembled, but he stayed upright. He had done it, not by force, not by power, by paying attention when others didn't. Evelyn emerged slowly, her hands shaking as reality crashed in. Laura guided her to a chair, speaking calmly, professionally. "You're safe now." Evelyn nodded, tears burning her eyes. Her gaze drifted past the officers, to the hallway, to Marcus. For the first time, their eyes met directly, and in that moment, something shifted. She didn't see a janitor. She saw the man who had saved her life. Later, as Victor was escorted away through the service entrance, whispers spread through the building. Staff clustered in quiet corners, shock rippling through the polished calm of the hotel. A black janitor had been the reason the CEO was still alive. Some looked at Marcus with awe, some with disbelief, some with discomfort, because his heroism disrupted the story they told themselves about who mattered. Evelyn sat alone in her office, staring out at the city skyline, her reflection faint in the glass. She thought about how close she had come to losing everything, and how the person who saved her was someone she had never truly seen. Power, she realized, had blinded her, and survival had forced her to open her eyes. The hotel did not return to normal after Victor Kane was taken away. On the surface, everything looked the same. The chandeliers still glowed, guests still checked in and out. The marble floors still reflected expensive shoes and hurried footsteps. But beneath that polished calm, something fundamental had shifted. Word spread quietly at first, not through press releases or corporate emails, but through whispers in break rooms and service elevators, through sideways glances and lowered voices. The CEO was almost killed. The janitor saved her. The janitor was black. Marcus Reed felt it the moment he stepped back into the lobby the next morning. People looked at him differently now. Some smiled too much, as if overcorrecting years of indifference. Others avoided him entirely, uncomfortable with the reminder that the man they had overlooked was capable of changing everything. A few stared openly, curiosity mixed with disbelief, like they were trying to reconcile the hero of yesterday with the uniform he still wore today. Marcus didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired. He felt the weight of what could have happened pressing against his chest every time he thought about Nia, about how close he had come to never coming home, about how the decision to act, one quiet decision, could have cost her a father. That night, after picking her up from Bright Path Learning Center, Marcus sat cross-legged on the floor of their small apartment on the south side of Chicago. Nia signed animatedly, her hands moving fast as she told him about her day. She stopped suddenly and looked at him. "You were scared," she signed. Marcus froze. "How do you know?" he asked aloud, then smiled at himself and signed the words properly. Nia tapped his chest gently. "I felt it." Marcus swallowed hard and pulled her into a hug, holding her tighter than usual. "Yes," he signed back. "I was scared." Nia leaned away and studied his face seriously. "But you didn't run." Marcus closed his eyes. "No," he signed. "I didn't." The next morning, Marcus was called to the executive floor. He almost didn't go. Every instinct in his body told him that rooms like that were not built for men like him, not without consequences, not without strings attached. But Karen Doyle from the front desk met him by the elevator, her expression unusually gentle. "She wants to thank you," Karen said quietly, "and she wants to listen." Marcus stepped into Evelyn Hartman's office for the first time in daylight. The room was all glass and clean lines, the city stretching endlessly behind the desk. Evelyn stood when he entered, not out of politeness, but something deeper, something deliberate. "Please sit," she said. Marcus remained standing. "I just wanted to say thank you," he replied calmly. "I have work to get back to." Evelyn didn't interrupt him. That alone surprised him. "No," she said softly. "You don't." Marcus frowned. Evelyn took a breath, the controlled composure she was famous for cracking, just enough to show the woman beneath it. "I owe you my life," she said. "And I owe you an apology." That landed harder than any praise. "You worked here for 3 years," she continued, "and I never once learned your name. I never asked about your family. I walked past you every day and told myself that was efficiency, professional distance." She shook her head slowly. It was blindness. Marcus said nothing. Evelyn looked directly at him, not past him, not around him. "I didn't survive that day because of my power," she said. "I survived because of yours." She told him about the changes she was making, not symbolic ones, real ones. A silent alert system for all staff, especially frontline workers, so no one would ever have to shout to be heard again. Mandatory bias training for executives, not led by consultants, but by people who live the consequences of being ignored. A complete restructuring of employee safety policies. Then she paused. "I'm also starting a foundation," she said, "for children with disabilities, For families who don't have the luxury of being seen, Marcus's throat tightened. I want to name it after your daughter, Evelyn added, with your permission. Marcus stared at her, words failing him for the first time in a long while. You don't have to do that, he signed slowly. I know, Evelyn replied. That's why it matters. She slid a folder across the desk. Inside was an offer, not a reward but an invitation. Director of Employee Safety and Wellness. Flexible hours. Real authority. A voice where it had never existed before. Marcus laughed softly, disbelief slipping through. I don't have a degree, he said. Evelyn smiled, not kindly but respectfully. You have something far rarer, she said. You understand what happens when systems forget people. This company needs that more than it needs another resume. Marcus thought of Nia, of the apartment, of the future he had been afraid to imagine. I'll accept, he said finally, on one condition. Evelyn nodded. Name it. No pretending, Marcus said. No using my story to make people feel better without changing anything. Evelyn met his gaze. Agreed. 3 months later, a small crowd gathered in the lobby of the Hartman Plaza Hotel. A plaque was unveiled near the concierge desk. It didn't celebrate luxury or profit. It honored awareness. The Nia Reed Foundation for Inclusive Safety. Nia stood beside her father, her small hand gripping his tightly. She watched Evelyn sign carefully, slowly, imperfectly, but with sincerity. Your father is a hero, Nia beamed and signed back. I know, he's my dad. The applause that followed wasn't thunderous. It was steady, earned. That evening, Marcus walked out of the hotel with Nia, the city lights flickering to life around them. For the first time, he felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Not pride, not relief, belonging. Behind them, the hotel stood tall, not as a monument to power, but as proof that when the invisible are finally seen, everything changes. Not just a life saved, a system corrected, a future rewritten. Before you leave, let me ask you something. How did this story make you feel? Did it move you, yes or no? Do you believe real change starts when we choose to see the people we've been taught to overlook? If you like this story, comment 111 below to let me know. Tell me, what country are you watching from? And if this story meant something to you, please share it. You never know who needs to be seen today.